Hi, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of DMP for That's My Podcast. It's another episode, just me again today, but I'm actually doing something kind of different. I don't know if anyone watches sometimes I'll have different videos or clips to go with these podcasts. And this time while I'm recording, I'm just kind of painting my nails. It's kind of a deep topic that I wanted to talk about today. And so I just kind of felt like it would be a way to keep it lighthearted and, still fun. So with a deep topic coming up, I also implore you to, get some nail polish out or put on a face mask or, do some of your chores while you're just listening to this podcast. Whatever makes you feel comfortable and, you know, helps you to, I don't know, I'm one of those people that sometimes whenever I'm talking or doing something, I like to have things going on in the background, or I like to do little side quests in the middle of other things, which they say you can't really truly multitask. But I think it just depends on what you're doing. And I think it's true in some aspects, but you know what? We're just going to go for it. Okay. So this episode, I kind of wanted to just go ahead and jump into it. I don't really know what I'm going to title this one yet, but pretty much the theme of it is what makes you get up in the morning. Like pretty much what makes you want to continue on every single day and just live your life. I don't know. I kind of thought about this randomly. This sounds really sad, but with a lot of homeless here in LA, it was just kind of a thought process of just sometimes I get really, down and in the dumps. And it's just seeing some of the homeless people, sometimes you see them you see kind of the regulars almost. And it's so sad, but it's just pretty much just reality here. And I mean, it's everywhere now. It's just getting worse and worse. It's just kind of man, with so many things going on in their life and the little materially at least that they have, I'll still see certain ones, each day or, more often than not. And doing, their routine, if you will, honestly. And it just kind of made me think it just randomly made me think, I wonder what makes them get up, what makes them get up in the morning, or what makes them continue to do their little routine, even though, they have so little. I know there's more to life, but I think it's just a good question that we all can ask ourselves, because I think a lot of people, don't really stop to think about something like that until it is towards the end of their life, or they are going through something, and they think what was my purpose, or what did I really accomplish, or, what brought me fulfillment, in my life. And so I think it's just something that we all should take the time to reflect on in our own lives. And, if you want to take a second to think about, what makes you get up in the morning, do that. Pause this and truly think about it, before I kind of get into what pops up in my head. Now, something that I'm about to get into is kind of deep, but it's also something that I've kind of lightly touched on in previous episodes. But I guess going into what I thought about whenever I said what makes you get up in the morning, I talked to JJ about this, and we kind of had a whole conversation, and he was the one that was kind of you know what, you should do a podcast episode on this. So here I am. But kind of what I said is, I used to feel I didn't have a choice, almost forgot to keep on painting my nails, I was getting into it. But I used to feel I almost didn't have a choice in living, if that makes sense. I mean, not to get really depressing and stuff like that, but really choosing to get up every day and choosing to go out and do your tasks or go to work, or talk to your family, go hang out with your friends, all of those things, that's a choice. Choosing to eat, choosing to put on the TV, whatever you end up doing every single day is still a decision or a choice. And I honestly, in my life, I used to feel I didn't really have a choice in what my routine was, or getting up, I used to do volunteer work a lot, which, is not, a bad thing that I was doing volunteer work or anything like that. But I was doing volunteer work with my church a lot, and I did find enjoyment in it a lot, and fulfillment. probably the most fulfillment that I've ever like kind of felt in my life. Not gonna lie, like I'm still trying to figure out like other ways that I can feel that type of fulfillment. Um, but I felt like, I didn't have like really days to sleep in and stuff like that. And, like every morning I just kind of got up thinking like, you know what, I just got to do this. I have to do this to make my parents happy. I have to do this to make my friends happy. I have to do this to, you know, have this future, all that. And I didn't really feel like I had a choice in what I was doing. And, I just kept on going and going. And even though I did have like great moments, I just it's not really living if you wake up every morning thinking like, I'm doing this so I don't disappoint anybody. That is like such a heavy weight to hold on yourself, of just feeling like you can't disappoint or feeling like you have to do this for somebody else. And whenever I lost that aspect of my life and I got disfellowshipped, which I, touched on in the previous episode, in previous episodes. But I went through, the suicidal thoughts, and like I had that support system for me at that moment, that I felt comfortable reaching out to whenever I was feeling those thoughts. But it was just kind of like in that moment, like I didn't feel like I could handle the weight anymore of I need to get up so I don't disappoint these people, because I had felt like I already disappointed at all of them. Like in my head I had felt like there was nowhere else I could go at that point, and just like living seemed so hard. It just seemed like the fact that I have to do this to, have a better mental space, and then the fact that I still have to make money to support myself, and the fact that, if I don't do this, and I'm letting someone else down, and the fact that if I don't do this, then, okay, well, this won't get done then, so I have to do my chores, and I have to go to work, and I have to hang out with these people, and all this stuff. Like that burden, it's not necessarily a burden, but like just all those responsibilities, it felt like a burden, and it felt like I couldn't handle it anymore. Like I didn't feel like I could continue on, honestly. And, clearly I got help in that matter, and like a different outlook. I was able to kind of get out of that mindset. But I mean, I'm sure a lot of us have gone through similar feelings, or, just suicidal thoughts in general, just feeling like, why am I doing this? Or, why should I continue on? Or the world would be a better place without me. Things like that. And it's such sad thoughts. And it's sad that so many of us go through that in life. But I think you just have to remember how strong you are. And I think that's kind of really what helped me in that moment, and like through that like support system that I had at that moment. They just kind of taught me that life is still worth living, even though it's a struggle right now. If I can just push through this moment, sometimes it's not about finding the thing that makes you fulfilled right in that second. It's just about, let me push through another day and try to get closer to that goal. And my goal, what can I do to make myself happy? It's not about anymore carrying the burden or the weight of what everybody else is wanting from me. It's about choosing myself. And I was told that was so selfish, like in the past, I was like told that, like choosing yourself is selfish and you shouldn't do that. You should live your life for other people. And I understand to a certain perspective what they're like, where they're coming from. In the sense of like, I think sometimes you get like the most fulfillment through our love and helping other people. And that's an amazing feeling. And really nothing tops it. But you have to make sure that your own cup is full before you can pour out anything to anybody. And that was just something that I wasn't really taught. And so going forward from getting past, those bad thoughts of not wanting to go on, I realized that, I needed to do this life not constantly thinking about others' expectations. I need to live this life and think about, think a little bit about myself and what I want and what I expect from my own self. Like, where are my expectations at of like, how high I hold myself, and like, where do I hold myself accountable, and what do I want out of life in general? Like what brings me fulfillment, and what makes me want to get up. like if I truly think about myself. And you kind of have to live your life and kind of go through and see what you like. But I think it's about realizing that, you're here and everybody lives their own lives, no matter what. Like, the only person that you truly have every single day, every second, is yourself. And you have to remember that, as much as like someone can have an impact on you and how important somebody is to you, or how much weight they put on you of their own expectations. You have to remember that you have to find your own purpose, or else none of that is going to matter. Like, you can inspire people and love people in so many more ways than kind of what they expect from you, if that makes sense, Like, I can make my family happier in so many other ways other than proving to them that I can do what they wanted me to do, if that makes sense. Maybe it's definitely hard to see in that moment. And I don't think I really saw that in that moment. I kind of thought, like, you know what? I'm not able to do what they wanted of me. So now I'm just letting them down. And, I'll never be able to come back from that. And sometimes that can be the case with some relationships. And it sucks, But either way, you have to remember that you're not responsible for that. You're responsible for yourself and being the best self for you and not hurting others, And so I think it's just about finding your own purpose. And another point that like really stood out to me that I've kind of been realizing lately is just that if you have to make decisions, because if you don't make them, then they will make you. And I think that's like, it's something that it took me so long to realize that. And, sometimes you just go through the motions, even with your job. Like, sometimes that can happen with like your career and stuff like that, Like, I am about to take some paid time off with my job. And this will be like the first time that I'm taking a full week off since I started. And I've been there almost 2 years now. Like, it's stuff like that. Like, you have to take the time to take yourself out of that scenario or that situation and figure out, like, wait, listen, like, what do I need? Like, and, like, that's kind of like, I was feeling super burnt out with my job and, trying to like figure out like where, like, different living situations here in LA, if we want to move to a different spot or what. And, just going through all of that, I was just like, you know what? I need a refresher. I need to take a step back, take myself out of this situation and just like refresh, rejuvenate myself and just kind of like get out of that feeling of feeling burnt out and feeling like there's so much going on. Because in reality, like, even though a lot of decisions can be hard, it's also like they're important decisions and they're going to be good, like if you go into it with the right headspace. And I was feeling like I couldn't win in any of my decision making at that moment. And so it's just like, sometimes it's just taking yourself out and reevaluating. That's the word, like reevaluating and reassessing the situation and the decisions that you have to make. So anyways, going back to, they like, you have to make decisions or they'll make you. If you're around people, they like, and you don't stand up for yourself, or, you don't have like, let's say you ask somebody a question before you formed your own opinion on something. A lot of times, like natural human nature, we just accept whatever they say because we haven't formed any other thing. And I'm not saying that should be a debate or anything like that, or that it's wrong to agree with anybody. Obviously that's not the case, but it's just more the sense of like, you have to kind of think for yourself. You have to make decisions for yourself. You have to think for yourself, and you need to listen to yourself. In reality, like, that's what it is. You have to listen to yourself and you have to have those conversations with yourself, because if you don't, then other people are going to fill those ideas and those thoughts and those decisions for you. And you won't really notice it in the moment. A lot of times, if you're not really listening to yourself and you're not really thinking for yourself, you're going to look back and be like, wait, like, I just zoned out. What was going on? How did I get here? Like, you just spawn in and you're like, wait, what is this life I created for myself? Like, I don't even know if I created it for myself. And that's what I don't want to happen to you. And if it is happening to you, just know you can get out of it. You just have to reassess your situation. Look at it, make decisions, and no matter what happens in life or what you decide, you can always change your mind. And that's not something that a lot of people, tell you. If you don't like a job, you can leave that job and find a new one. If you don't like the place that you live, you can leave that place and find a new one. If you don't like the person that you're with, you don't have to stay with them. If you aren't feeling built up by the friend group that you're in, you don't have to continue to associate with them. And if you don't like the food that you're eating, you don't have to finish it. You can go find some food that you like. It's just listening to yourself and really allowing yourself to feel and think about how you're feeling in that situation. Is this situation or is this scenario, is whatever I'm doing making me feel good? And it's not about getting temporary pleasure, because sometimes, like, oh, if I go to the gym, sometimes, oh, that squat did not feel good. Like, I don't want to finish out my reps or whatever, but it is like good for you. So there's a difference between, like, sometimes you don't want to do something, but it is necessary for growth. There's a difference in those types of feelings of like, oh, it doesn't feel good. Sometimes you look back in a relationship, or you look back at your job or a decision that you made, and you're like, you know what, like, I haven't really been thinking about it, but like, I'm not really happy. And those are the things that I'm thinking of, like, really take the time to reflect and do self-reflecting and make the decision so that you're curating your own life. It's funny because another thing that I just heard the other day was, when you like, you text somebody, or, like, you call someone and you're like, how are you? And they're like, oh, or even you're like, oh, I'm still here, or, I'm getting by. It's like, man, oh, like, my dad always says that to me, and always just like, it's heart-wrenching sometimes. It's just like, you know what, we're getting by day by day. It's like, okay, I'm glad that you're getting by, but is that really how you want to live your life? Sometimes that's the best you can do for certain periods of your life. Like, sometimes you really do have a rough patch, and so I'm not saying that's bad if you have a rough patch or anything like that. I'm just trying to say that you can get yourself out of those rough patches. And it's difficult. I'm not saying, like, it's easier said than done. So I'm not trying to, throw shade or judgment at anybody, or even say that, like, my dad lives a terrible life or anything like that. It's just sad whenever, you just kind of, like, are you just accepting that? Or are you realizing that, maybe you're not in the best position that you could be in right now? Like, are you just accepting that, I'm just getting by day by day? I live in another day, and you know what? I'm just gonna go to work and watch TV afterwards and go to bed. You know what? That's my life now. And, it's just, I guess it reminds me of a song lyric from, I forget who raps in one of Nicki Minaj's songs called Moment for Life. If you don't know that song, please go listen to it, because it is so, I love that song. It's an old one at this point, but it's amazing. I love it. But anyways, he says in a portion of the rap, everybody dies, but not everybody lives. And I'm sure somebody else has said that, but that was the first time I ever heard that. And it's just like such a good point. Everybody dies, but not everybody lives, because it's just so true. Like, it's valid, because, we all kind of have, like, the same type of fate right now, but we don't all live the same lives or have the same journeys. And I think it's about paying attention to what your journey is and what you want it to be. It doesn't have to look like anybody else's for it to be considered, living, but it's what you want it to look like. What is living to you? Like, what is your journey that you want? What do you envision yourself doing? And if you haven't thought about it, think about it. Like, it can be a lot, but it's definitely worth it. So, tips, don't waste your time. Don't keep on putting it off till tomorrow. Don't waste your time. Do it. If you have the energy, do what you need to do for you. Like, lately I've been trying to get more into creating content and stuff like that, and because I want to have that as, like, side side income, and I want to be able to inspire people through different things. Like I want to be able to really build the clothing brand, and I want to be able to build that brand into other things, with JJ. And, I want to get into properties, everything. And to do that, I have to decide each day to do that extra activity, to do that extra research, to put in the extra energy and focus into creating a piece or recording this podcast, or to, look at different properties, and, just every one of those things, like even making a reel. Like, it might seem so easy, but it does take some time if you like really care about what you're putting out there. So don't waste your time, and realize that you have to make those decisions. You have to support yourself. Sometimes you have to put in the effort and put in the energy to yourself. Another thing, like, think about your potential and try to reach that potential. Don't be scared of it. Like, we all have like such exponential like potential and everything. Like, and some people, like, you can see, and you can just like, even if they're in a bad spot, it's just like so tough, because you're like, they're just so good at this, or they're so intelligent, or they're so kind, and you just think about that, but then you see that they're in like this really terrible like position or situation and stuff like that. It's like, oh man, they're worth so much more. Well, you have to put in the energy to get to that potential. Just because we all have good in ourselves and we all have a talent, it doesn't mean that we're gonna reach 100% of that potential or talent if we're not putting in the energy. And so you have to not let fear hold you back. You have to not let other people hold you back, and you have to just go out and do it, and think about what you like to do and what you're good at, and put the energy into it. Another thing is, like, I don't know what all is out there, like, I was religious in the past and everything, but like, you know I know kind of like what I was taught, but I know so many people have different beliefs of like, if we get like reincarnated or go to heaven. Everybody has different thoughts. I don't necessarily know if I believe in either one of those types of things. But whatever, I don't really know is truly out there, but YOLO it. Like, I'm not trying to say, go skydiving if you don't want to go skydiving or anything like that. I'm just trying to say, like, this is your life. This is your, like, this could be your one life. So why spend it doing shit that you don't want to do? Like, take the time for yourself and do what you want, as long as it's not hurting anybody. Like, if you're not hurting anybody, it's no harm done. Like, do what you want. Like, why not? And like, if you are holding back, think about why you're holding back. And trust yourself. Trust like trust what you want, and don't feel guilty for having different desires. Like, if they're like, what you want to do is something different than what you're told, things like that. Like, I spent a lot of my life feeling guilty, and that was a lot of the reasons why I got so down in the dumps, is because I felt guilty. I felt like I wasn't enough. I felt like I was disappointing everybody. And you just have to remember that you have to trust yourself, and trust why you made certain decisions, and trust the journey that you're on. If you are trying to be the best you, then, you're not going to be like doing a bunch of stupid shit, or at least continuing the same bad shit. You're going to reinvent yourself, and, learn from your mistakes. And that's why, you should trust yourself. And I think that is like the biggest form of self-love, is thinking something and believing that you can do it and accomplishing it. Like, that is how you can show yourself love. And it's not always just about like telling yourself that you love yourself, or, the affirmations. There's more to it. So I guess those are my tips. I don't have too much else to say on this topic. I mean, you can go on for forever, but I've already kind of felt like I've been almost repeating myself in some areas, because it's just, I don't know, I guess it's just important. That it's an important topic. And I'm not going to lie, I did not paint one single nail. At the beginning of this, I was like, go do your own thing. And I could not, I guess I lied. I can't multitask. So I had a little bit too much faith in myself there. But I've enjoyed talking about this topic, and I hope that it is able to reach someone out there that, that needs it. And I think at some point in life, we all kind of need to have this type of talk, what makes you get up in the morning? So reflect on it, think about it, meditate on it, whatever you got to do, and start living your life and living your journey. And don't give up. Like 100% of the people that don't make it are the ones that quit. Like the 100% of the people who don't become artists or musicians or podcasters or influencers or models or like famous cooks, whatever you want to do. I don't know. Like 100% of the people who don't make it are the ones that give up on themselves, are the ones that quit those dreams. And so you can make it. You just have to figure out if that's what's important to you. And if that's what's important to you, put your energy into it. And I know you got it. So that's really all that I had to say today. And I hope you enjoyed it. And as always, I appreciate you. Love ya. And have a wonderful day, night, whatever you're doing and whatever time it is.